Welcome back to the channel, my brothers from different mothers, and that's what you are, my brothers. My name's Andy R, and this is the Brotherhood of Men. Now, today's subject, a while back I did a video on divorce and why the divorce courts are so unfair to men, how you are expecting 50%, but in reality you're only a third stakeholder in your marriage and the other 2/3 go to the woman. This is why men fare so poorly in the divorce courts, and this is why I say, if you want to avoid the divorce courts, if you want to avoid divorce full stop, don't get married. Live with a woman if you want, have children together, all of those beautiful, wonderful things. Build a loving relationship together. But do not walk down the aisle and sign that, quite frankly, slave certificate that is the marriage license. So, excuse me. But today, and in that video I said I was going to cover the family courts. Well, this is that video. I would like you, my brothers, to watch this all the way to the end, because I'm going to be covering a lot of ground with this and I'm going to be giving you a lot of facts and statistics. But again, men get the stinky end of the stick when it comes to custody battles, when it comes to who is the best parent to look after the children. Now, here in England, 90% of single parents are women. Why is that? Are men less able to bring up their children? No, absolutely not. I can guarantee as well, although I couldn't find statistics on this, I can guarantee a high proportion, of that 10% are widowers. In other words, they've become the main caregiver through default because their partner died. So 90% here in England, 90% of single parents are women. That's an outrageous statistic. Now, around, using an aggregate, it's around 70%. I know in the States it's nearer to 80% of single parents being women. That means there are very few single fathers, but there are a hell of a lot of single mothers. So why are the courts automatically, almost by default, giving custody to the women? You are going in quite literally with your hands tied behind your back when it comes to custody cases. Now, the courts often use this excuse: we are just looking out for the best interests of the child. That is a lie. Quite frankly, it's a huge lie, and I've got the receipts, facts and statistics to back up my statement that men are in fact the better parent by outcome. Now, what do I mean by outcome? Well, the thing is, the only metric that we can ever judge this by is outcome. In other words, how the child grows up and what outcome they get in adulthood. That is the best metric to show what is the best upbringing for a child. Now, we know by statistics that the best outcome for any child is to grow up in a two-parent home, a man and a woman together, in a loving relationship all the way to adulthood. That is the best outcome across all metrics, and this is across all socio-economic classes as well, and in pretty much every, well, no, it is in every society around the world. A man and a woman together bringing their children up in a loving relationship is the best outcome for a child. That's the best start and the best outcome. Those children reach higher in education, are less likely to end up in prison, are less likely to have mental health issues, are less likely to get involved with drugs and crime. So the metric to start with is the outcome. So when I say that men are better at bringing up children than women, again, the outcomes prove it all. Now, as I've said, being a single parent is worse, should I say, than a two-parent household. Whether it be man or woman, the outcomes are still less favourable for the child than if they were brought up in a two-parent household. So, when I say men are the better providers, the better have the better outcomes, the facts bear this out. Compared single fathers, to single mothers. Single fathers, their outcome for that child who brought up by the father are less likely to end up in prison, less likely to have a drug problem or alcohol problem, and less likely to have mental health issues in adulthood compared to single mothers. Now, as I said, the statistics are a little bit skewed because there are so few single fathers compared to single mothers. But the statistics that you can find prove out exactly what I've just said. They bail out what I've just said. That the outcome tends to be best for a child being brought up by the father than a child being brought up by the mother by outcome. So why do the courts, who are saying that we're just looking for the best outcome for a child, automatically give custody to the mother? Well, I have a theory. This is my opinion. I've not been able to bear this out because I would never be able to get a judge to admit to this. I think it's easiest. I think that the courts do this because it's easiest for them. Courts do not want to protract and have a long drawn out argument about what is and what isn't the best. They go by precedent and what's gone before. Precedent as in what has gone before. What has been done before. They follow that track. Unless somebody comes along and is able to prove or show or overturn that precedent, that's what stands. So a court looking for the easiest, most expedited way of doing something automatically goes to the playbook of a woman is better suited to raise a child. Although, now that we have the facts and statistics, it's showing that the outcomes are better if that child's raised by a father. But of course, nobody's challenged this in court yet. Nobody's actually shown all of the facts, data, statistics to a court and said, your presumption that a mother is better at raising a child is a fallacy. Also, the courts know that a mother is more likely to work part-time or be a stay-at-home mother. Therefore, her time is going to be already set for looking after the children. And again, because it's easiest, why change the status quo? A man tends to, in a relationship, be the higher earner, tends to be the one who brings in the most finances. He is the provider. So the courts want you to carry on being the provider, carry on going and working, etc., and pay for this woman and your child. Not what is best for the child, but what is easiest for the courts. We don't want to stop you being the provider as a man and her being the caregiver as a woman. So let's keep that going. You just have to pay for it all as a man. That is not what is best for the child by outcome, which the courts trot this out time and time again. Also, in family courts, there tends to be the social service side of it, and they will trot out these old tropes that a woman is better for looking after a child than a man, although the data and statistics prove it isn't. Like I say, the best outcome a child can ever have is two parents staying together in a loving relationship and bringing a child up. By outcome, that is hands down the winner. But then they go to the fact that a woman, they say, is better at raising a child than a man. Absolute nonsense. Do you think a man does nothing in that relationship to raise his children? Of course not. He loves them as much as the mother. He wants to be a part of that child's life. And so many times we see women using the child against the child's best interest as a weapon against the man, to punish the man for the fact that they're no longer together. Why they're no longer together is a mystery, but a woman will go out of her way to punish the man for maybe nothing he's done wrong except for not wanting to be in that relationship anymore. Maybe she cheated on him, maybe she was horrible to him, maybe she was hitting him, because, as I said, 40% of domestic abuse cases are men, yet there are no domestic abuse shelters for men in the UK that I could find. In fact, there are very few places in mixed shelters that accommodate men, but 40% of domestic abuse cases are men. Again, an imbalance. Men get the sticky end of the stick every single time. And let's look at another statistic. Who is the most likely to harm or kill a child? It's mothers, not fathers. This is another statistic you can look up. The fact that when a man does it, it's in all the newspapers, across all of news media, because it is so rare and so abhorrent. Yet a woman does it, and it's, because she had mental health issues. She was suffering from the baby blues, or postpartum, or whatever. Her medication wasn't wrong. It was a hormonal imbalance that made her do it. All excuses. She will probably end up in a mental health institute as opposed to going straight to jail. A man will go to jail for exactly the same crime. Yet statistically, more women each year, and I mean by a big margin, this is not like twice as many, this is many times as many, women are more likely to harm or murder their own child than a man is. But of course, the courts have only got the best interest of the child. Complete nonsense. The courts are going to what's easiest and keeping the status quo. That means you carry on going out to work to pay for a child that you're probably not going to see, and the woman's going to take your income and do what she likes with it. This is not for the child's best interest. Like I said, by outcome, a man actually is better off than a woman at raising the child. By outcome, in other words, better education. More children from a single father are more likely to go to university, less likely to get involved in drugs, less likely to suffer from mental health issues. Now, as I said, these statistics are slightly skewed because there are far more single mothers than there are single fathers. But there are far more single mothers than there are single fathers because the family courts are giving custody almost as a rubber stamp to women. In fact, I will go as far as saying by just rubber stamping it. They get the paperwork in front of them. It doesn't matter what it says, what she did in the relationship, how abusive she was to the man, how abusive she is to the child. It's more or less they look down and go, oh yeah, the mother's the best at looking after it. Bang, there's the rubber stamp. But you can find all of the statistics I'm using here. I don't give links to that because I don't know what country you live in, but the fact of the matter is that if I can find them, you can too. And it's only going to change if the fathers out there start using these facts and statistics to prove the courts wrong, that mothers are not the best suited for raising infants. What's best is two parents together, mother and a father. After that comes a father on its own. After that comes a mother on its own. There's one category of children by outcome that is the bottom of the pecking order, just below single mothers. Do you know what it is? I'm going to tell you. And that is children in the care system. That's right. The very same family courts that say that they've just got the best outcome of the child at heart, and that's why we're making the decisions, are the very ones who run the worst outcome for all children. Children in childcare, those in the care system, fostering and in care homes, are the ones that get the worst outcome. And why wouldn't they? There is nobody that is actually loving them. It's a job to them. In fact, a lot of foster carers nowadays do it just for the money. Couldn't really care less, so long as the kid's being fed and looked after, being fed and watered and clothed, they'll just keep cashing that check. It's almost a business to them. In fact, it is a business to them. But that child grows up being unloved, feeling abandoned, and they turn to crime, are poorly educated, end up with some sort of alcohol, drug issues, and definitely end up with mental health issues. Why wouldn't you? At those formative years, you're finding that there is nobody solely there for you. That's why the best outcome is with the two parents, because they're always looking out for your best interest as a child, not the courts. So the very courts that are saying to men, we're awarding custody to women, that's the category one above their own care system that is the worst outcome for children. Not taken into consideration. And the reason they don't is because they don't want you to stop working so that you can supply the ex-wife, the single mother, whichever, resources so she can carry on her merry way. Like I said, men get shafted. We get shafted in the divorce courts and we get shafted in the family courts. The woman gets the gold mine. The man gets the shaft. That's what happens. Do you agree with me? Tell me, brothers, in the comments down below. Tell me your experiences. If you've got children, you've split up, whatever the relationship broke down, what happened to you? Tell the other brothers in the comment section that what I'm telling you is the truth. As I said, there's the lowest category for outcome is the care system. That's ran by the courts and the social services. The very people who come to the courts and say, give the child to the mother, because that's the best outcome for the mother. We're only looking for the best for the child. Absolute nonsense. It's absolute nonsense, because the facts and statistics are out there that the best is two parents staying together. After that, single fathers. After that, single mothers. After that, the care system. The very system that you're relying on, hoping you will get a fair shake. You won't, because the courts want you out of their court. They want to rubber stamp the easiest option, which is, hey, the mother's already at home looking after the kids, let's keep that going. The father goes out to work to pay for it all, let's keep that going. Not what is best for the child. I'm not talking out my backside here, brothers. You need to get this into your head. You need to know this stuff, because at some point, if you want children, this may happen to you, and you need to have all of those facts and statistics at your hands so you can lay it in front of a court and say, if you want the best outcome for the child, then I get custody. And yes, I might have to stop working, but that's the thing the courts don't want to do, because then the state or the government is going to have to subsidise you, and they don't want to do that. They want you to carry on going to work, but you might not be seeing your child. Now, here's the other thing as well. When it comes to custody cases, this is something that women do to get custody. They will use any trick in the book to paint you as the worst monster next door to Satan in the eyes of the court, whilst they are so angelic, I'm surprised they're not floating off the floor with their angel wings and halo. They will use this playbook to punish you men. Number one, they will falsely and happily perjure themselves in court and accuse you of domestic violence, that you were knocking them about, you were beaten, and they're fearful for their life, that no contact is the best thing, even if it's to pick up the child. Oh no, he mustn't be there, he will probably attack me again. This has been proven so many times that women will do this. In fact, there are some absolutely evil divorce lawyers who will tell the woman to do this, who will say, oh, wasn't he a little bit aggressive with you once? You should tell the courts that. And there was a female lawyer who dealt with men in divorce courts and custody battles. She did a TED talk, and she was saying you could almost predict the moment that those sort of accusations would come up. So much now that the courts actually are starting to look at them as false accusations, not given the credence they once had. And rightly so. Because when it's been proved time and time again that the woman is actually perjuring herself and not being punished for that perjury, by the way, so then the playbook goes on that no, you weren't knocking her about and you weren't hurting her, you were doing it to the children. How disgraceful and disgusting is that? A mother is so focused on winning instead of what's best for her own child, never mind the court's action in this, but she's not caring about the best outcome for her own child, that she will deny you access to your child by accusing you of doing something horrible to that child. So much so she will allow that child to go through medical experimentation to see if her accusations hold any water. Something that's actually going to scar the child, because these are quite invasive examinations, shall we say. So now the child is being brainwashed that you actually did something. Yet the courts keep saying, we've only got the best interest of the child at heart. Nonsense. And again, you're seeing it each time. When it looks like it's getting into a bit of a grey area that the woman might have to have shared custody, or she might even lose custody, this is when that playbook comes out. I'll accuse him of doing horrible things to me. That doesn't work. Okay, I'll accuse him of doing horrible things to the children. And the courts will believe it. And in the family court, forget the innocent until proven guilty. You will be thought of as guilty unless you can prove your innocence. So years down the line, you're able to prove your innocence. She still doesn't get punished. Oh no. But now your child is harmed. Now your child is damaged. Now your child is probably fearful of you, because in all that time that you've had no contact, maybe even years, do you think the mother is saying, hey, I made it up, your father's a great man, hey, don't worry about it, you'll get to see him at some point? No. She's going to be dripping poison in that child's ear. So when that child actually does see you, probably turn around and say, I don't want to see you, I don't like you, I hate you. And this is what the courts are doing to men. You are going to get shafted. She'll get the gold mine, you'll get the shaft. And it's terrible. And the fact that women do this is diabolical. It is evil. Anyway, do you agree with what I have to say? This was not a pleasant subject to cover. Like I say, I've been with my woman for 24 years, but I have seen this happen to friends of mine. And I've seen it break them. I've seen a grown man who you wouldn't want to pick an argument with sobbing his heart out because he again didn't get to see his child, and again got knocked back by the courts, and again was being falsely accused of doing something he absolutely didn't do. And it all panned out. What I'm telling you actually happened to this guy, and has happened to thousands and thousands and thousands of men in many, many countries. All because the family courts won't look at new evidence, won't seem to want everything easy. Oh, the woman's the best outcome. No, by statistics and outcome, they're the penultimate worst outcome, single mothers. The worst outcome is the very states that are looking after children. The judges who are taking children into care, who are saying, no, we don't want them with any of the partners, and maybe for good reason, maybe they are just absolutely neglectful, maybe they're on drugs or something, whatever, mental health issues or something, that they can't look after the child. That is the last safety net, taking a child into care. But if you want to see the health of a nation, look at how they treat the most vulnerable in that nation. The elderly and the very young. And if they're treating those two abysmally, you live in a very sick society. We do here, if you use that demographic. But hey, they're judges, they're social workers. We've only got the best interest of the child at heart. So when I say that's nonsense, it's nonsense. And it needs to change. Anyway, as I said, this is a very difficult subject, and I'm sorry if it's upset any of you brothers out there, but you know that I am your brother, and sometimes the hard truths need to be spoken. I'll talk to you soon. I'm going for a cup of tea because, yeah, I really think I've earned one. You guys out there, you men, you take care of yourself. I say this every time, and now you know why. Take care of yourself, because if you don't, who will? And I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.